Posted by you/throwaway_weirdlove. Okay. This might sound crazy. And honestly, I wouldn't blame anyone for not believing me. Hell, I wouldn't believe me if I read this last month. But I need to write it all down. Maybe it'll help me make sense of it. Or maybe someone out there will read this and say, yeah, that happened to me, too. I guess I'll start where it all felt real. When I met Lena. It was March 2021. I'd just moved to Portland after a shitty breakup and an even shittier layoff. My life was basically in the trash, and I was trying to piece it back together with duct tape and therapy. I joined some hobby groups on Meetup, photography, hikes, board games. I was in full, please don't let me rot alone in this city, mode. That's when I met her. Lena. We were in a casual photography group. You know the type, a bunch of people standing around with overpriced cameras pretending to know what aperture means. She was there with this old-ass film camera, which was already kind of hot in a weird, hipster way. She wore this ridiculous mustard yellow beanie and had a band-aid on her index finger. I noticed because when she laughed, she'd tuck that hand behind her ear, like she was hiding it. She had this kind of effortless weirdness, not the, I drink oat milk and talk about chakras, kind, more like, I probably have a pet crow and listen to true crime to fall asleep. Anyway. She noticed me taking photos of pigeons fighting over a pretzel, don't judge, it was compositionally interesting, and we started talking. She asked if I was trying to document urban bird gang wars, and I swear I almost choked on my own awkwardness. She was funny, like actually funny, in that dry, specific way that makes you feel like you're in on a private joke. I was hooked. We started hanging out a lot after that. Walks, late-night food trucks, even just reading in silence at the same cafe. It wasn't flashy. It felt like slipping into something warm after being cold for a long time. We fell into this rhythm like we'd known each other forever. I told her things I hadn't told anyone. Like how I still counted steps when I was anxious. How I used to make up elaborate backstories for strangers on the train just to keep from spiraling. How I was terrified I'd turn 40 and realize I'd lived a safe, pointless life. And she listened. She always listened like she already knew the ending but still wanted to hear me tell it. She told me about her dad, a physicist, apparently, and how she grew up moving around to different universities. How her mom left when she was a kid and no one really talked about it. How she always felt like she was playing a role in every new place, trying to fit the version people expected of her. I should have seen it sooner. That was the first clue. But love makes you blind, right? Especially when it feels like the first time someone really sees you. We moved in together after 9 months. Yeah, I know. But when you know, right? Things were good. Mostly. Except for these little weird things. Once, I found a notebook tucked between the couch cushions. I thought it was mine, same black moleskine. But when I opened it, it was all these notes. About me. Like, literally about me. My sleep schedule. The way I talk in my sleep, apparently I mumble about my old high school math teacher. What? My food preferences down to the brands. Even notes on our arguments, what triggered me, how I reacted, how long it took me to cool off. I laughed at first. Like, wow, you're either a stalker or you love me way too much. She was in the kitchen making tea and turned around, pale as hell. She snatched it out of my hand before I could read more and said, "That's for something I'm writing. A character." Weird, right? But I bought it. She was artsy. She'd mentioned wanting to write a novel one day. I let it go. But then things started feeling staged. Or too perfect. Like how she'd always say exactly what I needed to hear when I was spiraling. Or how she always knew when I was about to get sick, I mean, days before any symptoms. She'd just hand me soup and say, "Your voice is off. You've got 48 hours before it hits." And she was always right. I started joking that she was psychic. She'd just smile and say, "I pay attention." But the cracks were showing. And once I saw them, I couldn't stop seeing them. One night, I came home early from work, early enough that she wasn't expecting me. I walked in, and the apartment was pitch dark except for the weird glow of her laptop. She was sitting at the table, wearing headphones, talking to someone. I was about to say hey when I heard her say my name. Not in the cute, my boyfriend just walked in, kind of way. No, this was clinical. Like she was giving a report. I froze. She said something like, Subject 6 is showing signs of increased paranoia. We may need to accelerate phase 2. I know what you're thinking, I must have misheard. That it was a podcast or an audiobook or whatever. Believe me, I tried to convince myself of that too. But then I watched her calmly close the laptop, remove the headphones, and act like nothing had happened. She kissed me hello. I didn't say anything. Not that night. Not the next day. But something shifted. I couldn't sleep. I started looking through her things when she wasn't home. And what I found, it was like peeling back wallpaper and finding a whole other house underneath. She had files. On me. Photos from before we met. Like candid shots from the train station, the park, even outside my old apartment in Denver. I felt sick. I confronted her that night. She looked at me, not scared, not shocked, just sad. Like a parent watching their kid find out Santa isn't real. She didn't deny it. She just said, I wanted to tell you. I really did. But you weren't ready. Ready for what? That's when she said it. That this isn't what you think it is. That none of this is. And that's where I'll stop for now. Yeah, I know. I sound crazy. But I swear to God, every word is true. I haven't seen her in a week. The apartment's half empty. Her phone goes to voicemail. And just this morning, I got a manila envelope on my doorstep. No name. No return address. Inside? Just one photo. Of me. Sleeping. Dated 3 years before I met her. Part 2/5. Title, she said I was Subject 6. I just found out what happened to Subject 5. Hey Reddit, I'm back. First off, thanks to everyone who commented, messaged, or even just lurked. I was not expecting that kind of response. Honestly, I thought I'd get 5 sarcastic replies and maybe a tinfoil hat meme. But the support, the DMs, the theories, it's helped. Like, a lot. Anyway. This is the update I promised. I wish it were less insane. If you haven't read part 1, please do. Otherwise, none of this is going to make sense. For those who have, you know that I found a photo of myself sleeping, dated 3 years before I met Lena. So, here's what happened next. I didn't sleep that night. Not a wink. I sat on the couch with Bear, my dog, not an actual bear, though he snores like one, and just kept staring at that photo. I flipped it over, held it up to the light, even sniffed it like some kind of psycho. But it was real. Printed on thick, matte paper. Timestamp in the corner. Taken in my old Denver apartment, before I moved. Same curtains. Same ratty hoodie. Same way I sleep, curled like a shrimp, arm under the pillow. I racked my brain. Had Lena followed me? Was this some long game? But, 3 years? Who does that? The next morning, I called in sick and started digging. Not metaphorically, I mean, full-blown private investigator mode. I opened every folder on Lena's old laptop. She'd wiped most of it, but she wasn't exactly Edward Snowden. Recovered some files using basic software. Most were encrypted. Some had vague names, session logs, cycles, group_B. But one folder wasn't locked. Just chilling on the desktop, like it wanted to be found. It was called Observer. Inside? Hundreds of videos. All time-stamped. all labeled by date and name. My name. And 5 others. Now, I'm not dumb. I knew I should stop. I knew this was the point in the horror movie where the guy pokes the monster and gets his face eaten. But I couldn't stop. I had to know. I clicked on 1, June 7, 20, Subject 5, Deviation. It was grainy security cam footage, black and white, like from a corner of a room. There was a guy, mid-30s maybe, messy hair, looked like he hadn't slept in days, pacing. Then Lena entered the frame. Same calm smile. Same voice. "Hey, Nate. Let's sit down, okay?" He freaked. He screamed something like, "I know what this is. I know who you are." Then he lunged at the camera. Screen went black. I sat there shaking. Because Lena never told me about an ex named Nate. But that wasn't even the part that scared me most. It was what was written in the metadata below the video, Subject 5, terminated. I looked up every name I could find in that folder. Subject 1, Subject 2, Subject 3. Each one had a handful of logs. Each ended abruptly. The last log for every person was tagged Termination Protocol Initiated. Except me. Mine were still being updated. Even one from last week. That one chilled me to the bone. It was labeled Subject 6, Romantic Stability Week 119. And it showed us. Me and Lena. Eating dinner. Laughing. Me telling a dumb story about Bear farting in his sleep. I didn't even remember that moment being recorded. But there it was, like a wildlife documentary. She was studying me. The whole time. I didn't know what to do. Call the cops? Say, "Hey, my girlfriend might be conducting illegal psychological experiments on me?" I'd sound like a lunatic. So I did what any dumbass Redditor would do. I Googled. I searched, behavioral study, psychology experiment covert, romantic subject testing, observer project. Most of it was junk. Old psychology textbooks. Reddit conspiracy threads with 6 upvotes. But then I hit something weird. It was a site, barebones HTML, no branding. Just black text on a white page. The URL looked like a string of random numbers, but in the source code, I found something, Project Observer. And a sentence that still haunts me, "They do not know they are being studied." That's what makes it real. I dug deeper. Used Wayback Machine, even posted on a couple obscure forums asking if anyone had heard of this observer thing. Most replies were trolls. But one person, username HoloTheory42, messaged me. They said, "You need to leave. If you're Subject 6, you're already being monitored." The others didn't make it out. I wrote back, heart pounding. "You knew them?" They replied. Subject 3 was my sister. Then they sent me a Google Drive link. Inside, documents, screenshots, even a PDF that looked like a thesis or internal white paper titled, "The Viability of Emotional Conditioning Through Simulated Partnerships." Here's an excerpt that hit me hardest. Subjects were led to believe in organically developing romantic relationships. Partners were planted by the research team. Long-term data was collected to measure psychological malleability, emotional resilience, and identity erosion in response to intimacy and betrayal. My name was in the appendix. Full name. Date of birth. Notes. Subject 6, high emotional intelligence, history of abandonment trauma, elevated empathy scores. Prime candidate. I threw up. Actually threw up. Because that was in my therapy intake form. The one I filled out in Portland. The one I gave to the practice Lena recommended. She'd been in my head since day one. I called the number HoloTheory gave me. It went straight to a burner voicemail. "Leave a message." So I did. I told them everything. I begged them to meet. Then I packed a bag, grabbed Bear, and checked into the cheapest motel I could find. That night, I stared at the ceiling for hours, jumping at every sound. Around 3 a.m., I heard a knock. Not at the door. At the window. I froze. Bear growled. Another knock. Sharp. Deliberate. I crept over and pulled the curtain just a little. There was a woman standing outside. Face obscured by a hoodie. Holding a sign. It read, "I'm not Lena." Then she turned it around. The back said, "They're watching. Come with me now if you want answers." I know how that sounds. But I opened the window anyway. Because I think I'm past the point of pretending this is normal. And because I think they're trying to erase me next. Part 3 coming soon. If you've ever heard of Observer, or anything like this, please let me know. I don't think I'm the only one. Part 3/5. Title: I escaped with a stranger who claims to be Subject 3's sister. What she showed me changed everything. Hey Reddit. Back again. Not from home. Not from anywhere you'd expect. If you've been following this, whatever this is, first of all, thank you. Seriously. The comments, theories, and DMs from strangers who somehow felt like friends? That's the only reason I haven't lost it completely. That, and Bear. Yes, he's still with me. He's in the corner right now, asleep with one paw twitching like he's dreaming of chasing a squirrel made of bacon. Okay. Quick recap for anyone new here. My girlfriend Lena? Turns out she was never really my girlfriend. I found files labeling me as Subject 6 in something called Project Observer. Other subjects existed before me, all relationships, all staged, all part of some psychological experiment. A mystery woman showed up at my motel window with a sign, "I'm not Lena. Come with me now if you want answers." Yeah. So. I went. I know. Dumb. Every horror movie, every Reddit cautionary tale says don't follow strangers into the night. But after what I found in Lena's laptop, the videos, the metadata, the timestamps on photos of me years before we met, I couldn't stay still. Besides, this woman knew something. She wasn't just some random nutcase in a hoodie. She looked scared, not unhinged. And she looked like she'd been running for a long time. I opened the window, quietly, and Bear slipped out first. The woman crouched and scratched his head like they were old friends. "I'm Ivy," she whispered. "I'm taking you to someone who can explain. But we have to go. Now." We didn't go far, just a few blocks to an old beat-up Honda Civic parked under a busted streetlight. Classic, no one will look twice, car. I slid into the passenger seat, Bear jumped in the back, and Ivy peeled out like she knew every pothole by heart. I asked her the one question I couldn't keep down. "Who are you, really?" She kept her eyes on the road. "I'm the only reason you're still alive." We drove in silence for an hour, through winding industrial roads and dead-end suburbs that looked like they'd been abandoned mid-construction. She finally pulled into what looked like a storage facility and used a keypad to open one of the units. Inside wasn't furniture or cardboard boxes. It was an off-grid setup, blankets, lanterns, power banks, printed maps, an old-school corkboard with red string, the whole conspiracy vibe. If it weren't for the real fear in her eyes, I'd have thought she was cosplaying. She handed me a thermos. "It's just coffee. Relax." Then she got to the point. My sister was Subject 3. Her name was Elise. She was part of the same program. Same situation, a staged relationship that she thought was real. Her boyfriend, Jonah, was one of them. A plant. But Elise figured it out early. Too early. She didn't have time to plan like I did. She told Ivy everything in a panic. Then, she disappeared. Officially? Ivy said. She had a breakdown. Walked into a lake in the middle of the night. Body never recovered. She looked me in the eye. But my sister couldn't swim. She was terrified of water. That's when Ivy started digging. She had a background in forensic anthropology, not quite spy level, but enough to start pulling strings. Most people wouldn't even notice Project Observer's fingerprints. But once she knew what to look for, she found a pattern. Subjects. Pairs. Carefully chosen. All of them people with certain traits. Isolated, emotionally intelligent. Empathetic to a fault. Recently heartbroken or traumatized. No deep family ties or kids. Easy to disappear. Each partner was custom-built, psychologically profiled, trained, and monitored. Lena, Jonah, others, they weren't actors. Not really. More like operatives. Sometimes even failed therapists or ex-academics recruited through shady consulting groups. Their job? Enter a subject's life, form a believable emotional connection, and steer them through a long-term simulation designed to measure the boundaries of trust, grief, identity, and emotional manipulation. In Ivy's words, they break you. And they watch how you put yourself back together. Here's the part one still can't wrap my head around. Project Observer is private. As in, not government-run. It's privately funded. By who? No one knows. But Ivy showed me a ledger, financial records leaked from a burner server, with entries like Phase 2, Emotional Inversion, Subject 4. Cognitive Realignment Through Grief, S6 Trial. Identity Shift Response Test, Group A terminated. The clients? Anonymous shell companies. But Ivy thinks some of them are corporations. Maybe even military. Testing how to break people. Or build them. I couldn't believe it. So she played me something. It was audio. Static-filled at first. Then a voice I'll never forget. Lena's. Saying my name. Casually. Then something that shook me to my core. Subject 6 is developing attachment faster than expected. He exhibits ideal emotional elasticity. We believe he may be ready for Phase 3. Then a pause. And a different voice. Male. Crisp. Cold. Then begin. Full inversion. Let's see if we can make him break himself. That was 2 weeks ago. I looked at Ivy. What's Phase 3? She didn't answer. She just handed me a file. Inside were photos. Me. Lena. Her laughing. Me proposing on the rooftop last Christmas. Yes, I did. I bought the ring. She cried. Now I don't even know if those tears were real. I flipped to the last page. There was a headline. Subject 6 Post-Termination Projection, Emotional Cascade Hypothesis. And a graph. A goddamn graph predicting my mental breakdown. Dates. Days. Notes like, paranoia onset, disassociation trigger, crisis event forecast. The worst part? Today's date was circled. Next to it. Control withdrawal protocol. I looked up at Ivy. What does that mean? She took a deep breath. It means Lena's not gone. She's waiting. Watching. And they want to see what happens when she breaks your reality for good. I didn't know what to say. I felt like I wasn't in my own body. Like I was floating just above it, watching someone else fall apart. But then Ivy leaned in. There's a reason you lasted longer than the others. You never fully trusted her. You kept part of yourself out. She pointed to Bear, sleeping next to me. You grounded yourself. That saved you. She told me I had a choice. Leave the country, disappear, try to build a new life and pray the project moves on. Or, confront them. Find Lena. Force their hand. Blow it all open. She warned me, if you go that route, there's no going back. They will try to erase you. Like they did Elise. And here I am. writing this from a borrowed laptop in a metal box, pretending to be a storage unit, asking the internet for advice. Do I run? Or do I fight? Because I just got a text. From Lena. First time since she vanished. All it says is, "You were never supposed to find her." Part 4 coming soon. Please comment if you've seen anything like this. I'm running out of time. Part 4/5. Title: I met Lena again. She told me I was never the subject. I was the control. Hey Reddit. This might be the last time I post. I've been thinking about how to write this for hours. Honestly, I don't know where to start. My hands are shaking so hard I can barely type, and Bear won't stop pacing. It's like he knows something's coming. Maybe he's smarter than me. But I promised to finish the story. So here it is. Last time, I told you that Lena texted me. You were never supposed to find her. Ivy freaked when I showed her. She said we had to move, immediately. They were triangulating our location. She started grabbing hard drives, maps, anything not bolted down. But something in me snapped. I'm done running, I told her. I'm going to her. Ivy tried to stop me. Told me it was suicide. But I was past caring. I needed answers. I needed to look Lena in the face and ask if any of it, the jokes, the cuddling, the dumb movies we cried at together, had ever been real. I left Bear with Ivy. Just in case. Then I texted Lena back. Then tell me where to go. She replied instantly. A single address. One I recognized. It was the house we almost bought together. That house was our dream. A fixer-upper outside the city. We never signed the papers, financing fell through, but we visited it a dozen times, wandered through the empty rooms, talked about what kind of tile we'd use in the kitchen, what color to paint the nursery. Yeah. That far. So when I pulled up and saw the lights on, I almost broke. It looked exactly like we left it. Same broken swing in the yard. Same porch light flickering like a dying firefly. The only difference was the black SUV parked in the driveway. Tinted windows. Still warm. I knocked. No answer. I opened the door. It was unlocked. Inside? Quiet. Too quiet. Furniture was back, ours. The couch, the coffee table I chipped during a drunken IKEA meltdown, even the beanbag Lena used to sink into when she was recharging her introvert battery. I walked through the house, calling her name. My voice echoed. Then I saw the candle. One single candle, lit, on the kitchen counter. Next to it, her phone. And a file. Labeled Control 6. I didn't touch it at first. I just stared at it like it might bite. Then I heard the door close behind me. I turned. And there she was. Lena. Wearing the same green hoodie she wore the first night we slept on this floor, in sleeping bags, talking about the future like it was something we could touch. She looked tired. Thinner. But her eyes were the same. And she was crying. I told them you wouldn't stop, she said. I didn't speak. I couldn't. She picked up the file and handed it to me. You were never the subject, she whispered. You were the control group. I opened it. Inside were charts. Logs. My emotional responses mapped against another person's, Subject 6, the actual subject. His name was Dylan. I'd never met him. But apparently, he had met me. Do you remember the corgi in part 1? Waffles? He was Dylan's dog. The day we met at the park? That wasn't random. I was being observed. Dylan was the one they were really watching. Lena had 2 roles. 1, as my partner. 2, as Dylan's invisible variable. She told me they were testing how different people respond to love, betrayal, and reality bending, but in different contexts. Dylan was manipulated directly. I was manipulated indirectly, as a control. They wanted to know, if you take two people with similar profiles, but one is lied to and the other is used, who breaks first? I couldn't speak. My throat felt like it had closed. Lena kept going. You passed every threshold. You showed restraint when Dylan spiraled. You tried to help him. You were the ethical benchmark. I stepped back. So what was I? A placebo? She flinched. No. You were more than that. You kept him tethered. You made the experiment work. I laughed. Actually laughed. That horrible, broken laugh that tastes like blood. Was anything real? I asked. Anything at all? She said nothing. So I asked again. Did you love me? She looked up. Eyes full of something I didn't recognize. More than I was supposed to. I wanted to scream. To throw the file, set the house on fire, punch through the walls and feel something that wasn't this numb, dead ache in my chest. But I didn't. Instead, I sat down. Tell me everything. And she did. Project Observer started as a DARPA offshoot, Lena said. Originally designed to study human adaptability in high-stress environments. It failed to secure funding. But a biotech firm, she didn't name it, bought the research and privatized the study. Their goal? Weaponize empathy. Train soldiers, negotiators, even AI models on real emotional data. Use real relationships to simulate unpredictable responses in war, diplomacy, commerce. Understand how people break, and how to stop it. Or accelerate it. They needed unfiltered, unscripted, unaware subjects. So they created partners like Lena. People trained to infiltrate lives under carefully curated scenarios. Match psychological profiles. Build bonds. And then, systematically destabilize them. I wasn't meant to get close. But I did. That screwed up the data. So they changed the variables. They let Lena fall in love. Then they watched what would happen when she had to destroy it. I asked where Dylan was. She shook her head. Gone. He broke protocol. Attacked a researcher. He's been retired. Retired? Her silence said everything. I asked if they'd come for me next. She nodded. They want to see what happens when the control fights back. I stood up. What if I go public? She stepped closer. They'll discredit you. Delete your files. They'll make it look like a breakdown. I smiled bitterly. Maybe it is. Then Lena did something I didn't expect. She handed me a second envelope. Inside, a flash drive, and a note. This is everything. Observer, the funding trail, the other subjects. Their real names. Their families. You can leak it. You can burn it down. But if you do, they'll erase you. She looked at me, eyes shining. I wanted you to know. I wanted someone to know. So I'm giving it to you. I'll take the fallout. Just don't look back. Then she kissed me. Soft. Final. And walked out the door. I don't know where she is now. I'm writing this from a safe location Ivy found. Bear is asleep next to me. Flash drive is in my pocket. I've backed it up twice. I don't know who to send it to yet. Part of me wants to upload everything here. Blow it wide open. But part of me wonders. What if this is still part of it? What if me posting this is phase 4? What if Lena knew I wouldn't stop? What if this is the real experiment? Part 5, the conclusion, is coming soon. I have a decision to make. Part 5/5. Title, I leaked the files. And now I don't know what's real anymore. Hey Reddit. This will be my last post. I mean it this time. It's been 6 days since I left that house. 6 days since Lena handed me the flash drive and disappeared into the night. I haven't heard from her. Ivy doesn't know where she went either. She could be dead. She could be in a black site. She could be watching me right now, through some unblinking camera, waiting to see what I do next. But I think I finally know what I have to do. First, I need to finish this story. After Lena left, I didn't move for hours. I sat on the floor with the flash drive in one hand and the file folder in the other. Bear rested his head on my knee, whining occasionally like he could feel something shifting in me. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to find a hole in the earth and disappear into it. Instead, I got up, drove back to Ivy's, and showed her everything. She scanned the drive like she already knew what was on it, cross-referenced documents, decrypted raw footage, found names and locations and code names. Together, we uncovered the scale of Project Observer. It's worse than I thought. Not just 6 subjects. Dozens. Across the country. Each one carefully isolated, monitored, entangled with a handler. Every subject unaware they were part of a simulation. Some relationships were romantic. Others were platonic, familial, even spiritual. The point was always the same. Test the limits of human emotion. Bend people until they either broke or adapted. There's a file on the drive titled Success Cases. That one made me sick. Because they celebrate the ones who cracked. Subject 2? Institutionalized after believing his wife had been replaced by a government agent. Subject 7? Developed full-blown dissociative identity disorder after spontaneous grief injection. Translation: they killed off her partner mid-simulation. Subject 10? Committed suicide during Phase 4. They called it unexpectedly high emotional yield. There's also a file called Outliers. That's where I found my name again. Not as a success. Not as a subject. But as something else. Control Group C6B, emotional integrity intact, failed to trigger spiral event. Recommend reclassification or phase out. There it was. In cold, academic language. I didn't break like they wanted. I didn't crumble. And that pissed them off. Ivy and I debated what to do. Go public? Try to leak it? Send it to journalists? Reddit? WikiLeaks? Hell, TikTok? But that's when weird things started happening. Our backup drives? Fried. The laptop? Bricked overnight. Our offline printer? Jammed every time we tried to print anything longer than 3 pages. The burner phones? Static. No calls could go through. Even Bear's GPS tracker lost signal. It felt like the world was shrinking around us. Like someone was tightening the walls inch by inch. We decided on one thing, a dead man's switch. I split the data into 3 parts. Ivy holds one. A contact of hers in Berlin holds another. The third I loaded onto a secure cloud server, set to auto-send to 300+ inboxes if I don't enter a unique passphrase every 72 hours. If you're reading this now, and I haven't posted again in 3 days, it went out. And if it hasn't gone out, that means I'm still breathing. For now. Here's the part 1 haven't told you. The part that's still unraveling in my mind, like a frayed thread that leads nowhere, and everywhere. Yesterday, I went to the pharmacy to pick up some meds. The guy at the counter, early 30s, scruffy beard, name tag said Daniel, looked at me and said, "Hey, didn't we go to school together?" I said no. Politely. But he kept staring at me, like I was some weird dream he half remembered. Then he said, real soft, "Do you remember Waffles?" I froze. I hadn't said that name out loud in weeks. Not since I found out he wasn't my dog, but Dylan's. Dylan, subject 6. The real subject. I said nothing. Daniel just smiled, like something in him clicked. Guess we're both out now, huh? Then he walked away. Didn't come back. I asked the cashier where he went. They looked confused. Daniel? There's no one named Daniel here. I think I'm starting to see it. This goes deeper than Lena. Deeper than the handlers. Deeper than Ivy, or Observer, or any of the names I found on that flash drive. This is a structure. A system. And it doesn't end when you find out about it. It adapts. I don't think I was just the control group. I think I'm still in the experiment. I think we all might be. Lena once told me something, way back, before any of this started. We were lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the rain. She said, "Sometimes I think we're all just watching each other. Waiting to see who falls first." I laughed and said, "That's bleak as hell." She kissed my shoulder and whispered, "But maybe watching is the point." So here's my final message. If you're reading this, and any of it feels familiar. If you've ever loved someone who seemed too perfect. If you've ever found a file that wasn't yours. If someone knew too much about you, your habits, your fears, your exact trigger points. If you've ever wondered whether you were in a test, a simulation, a relationship that felt scripted just a little too tightly. You might be in it too. Maybe you're the subject. Maybe you're the control. Or maybe you're just the audience. But either way, start watching back. This is you/throwaway_weirdlove. Signing off. Permanently, I hope. Stay safe. Watch closely. Love carefully.